Lake County Board of Commissioners, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Dear God, please bless our meeting today. May our discussions be fruitful, our decisions wise, and our community strong. Amen. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Beveridge.
Here.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Present.
Commissioner Regovich.
Here. You have before you the minutes of the regular meeting of April 3rd, 2025. We have a motion to approve of waiving the reading of the same.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Beveridge.
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes. This brings us to the public portion. Anyone wishing to address the board on agenda items only, please raise your hand. You have 3 minutes after stating your name and address. Public portion is now open. Do I have anybody that wishes to speak? And being seen, Madam Clerk, we can start with the resolutions.
In special resolutions, resolution proclaiming the month of April 2025 Fair Housing Month in Lake County, Ohio.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? I think we have Rhea Benton here to speak on fair houses.
Good morning, Commissioners. The month of April is a designated time to celebrate the advancements of equal access to housing, regardless of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, familial and military status, disability, or ancestry. Enacted by Congress in 1968, the Fair Housing Act, as part of the Civil Rights Act, applies to housing and housing-related activities. Fair Housing Month reminds us that the principle of fair housing is not only state and national law, but a fundamental human concept and entitlement for all people. The responsibility to affirmatively further fair housing is shared by HUD entitlement jurisdictions and other entities using Community Development Block Grant and Home Program funds. We are committed to advancing fair housing by actively collaborating with the Fair Housing Resource Center on initiatives that focus on fair housing planning, along with educational and outreach activities. We proclaim our support for National Fair Housing Month, and we invite all Lake County residents to also join us in celebrating fair housing concepts in their neighborhoods, schools, and communities.
Thank you, Rhea. Any comments?
Mr. President, first of all, thank you, Rhea, for your hard work and advocacy on behalf of our community. We've had a lot of conversations at this dais about property taxes, and I think that property taxes go to the core of what fair housing is about. We want to make sure that people can actually afford to live in their own homes and afford to buy homes in Lake County. And while we can't control everything, we work hard as a community to push back when there are really discriminatory laws like excessive property taxes that prevent people from being able to call Lake County or the state of Ohio their home. So thank you for your work, and we want you to know we're going to continue to support you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. And I would just like to thank you and your staff for all you do in support of fair housing. We have many nonprofits here in Lake County, which we're fortunate to have to work in that area. But I know just from CDBG money and things like that, and in areas there, we can make improvements so that these areas are nicer, and we can have what people need to live healthy and happy. So,
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Beveridge.
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Rhea, I'm going to ask you to come back up and accept the.
Take a picture.
Apparently, I didn't indicate my positions, but yes.
Thank you. Noted.
Madam Clerk, next resolution.
Resolution proclaiming the month of April 2025 National County Government Month in Lake County, Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Yes.
Madam Clerk, I believe that your research has shown that Lake County's birthday is?
I believe it's March 6, 1840.
That is right. March 6, 1840. So we got to mark that on our calendars as we celebrate National County Government Month. Lake County's birthday is March 6, and something to celebrate when we seceded from Geauga County. It actually took us years more to secede from their fair because that turned out to be a little more difficult legally, but Lake County is very proud to be our home, and as we celebrate County Government Month, we really celebrate Lake County itself.
And we did not give ourselves a proclamation, so. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Beveridge.
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
In the Utilities Department, resolution authorizing execution of contracts for various water and wastewater chemicals for the Lake County Department of Utilities.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Beveridge.
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Resolution approving plans, specifications, and estimates of cost in the amount of $278,522.20 for sanitary sewers for Echo Hill Manor subdivision in the city of Mentor, job number 23-58.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Beveridge.
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Resolution approving plans, specifications, and estimates of cost in the amount of $163,861.50 for a water line for Old School Village subdivision in the city of Wickliffe, job number 25-07.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Beveridge.
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
And Job and Family Services Department, resolution approving the County Department of Job and Family Services vouchers, date of warrant April 25th, 2025, in the amount of $572,109.48.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Beveridge.
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
And the Commissioner's Office, resolution authorizing execution of an agreement between the Lake County Board of Commissioners and Painesville Township for the fiscal year 2024 Community Development Block Grant Funds.
So moved.
Second.
And for discussion, I'm going to bring Rhea back up.
This agreement is a result of project selection process that took place last year for fiscal year 24 Community Development Block Grant Funds, and it does allow Painesville Township to purchase land on Normandy Drive. And the purpose of the acquisition of real property is to have open space, and it could potentially either remain open space or be connected to a storm sewer project.
Very good. Any questions for Rhea? Thank you, Rhea.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Beveridge.
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Resolution appointing Dion Dimitro to the Lake Tram Board of Trustees for a 3-year term expiring May 15th, 2028.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I remember when I first met Dion Dimitro, she said, if you want to remember how to pronounce my first name, think Deion Sanders. And so that's why we are still pronouncing her name correctly today, but she is the president of the CEO of the United Way. She does a lot of work in our community, and we're grateful that she's willing to step up and serve in this capacity.
I believe I get more emails from her than anybody else. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Beveridge.
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Resolution reappointing Donna P. McNamee to the Lake Tran Board of Trustees for a 3-year term expiring May 15, 2028.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I think it's very important when we select trustees to make sure that we choose individuals who take advantage of the services that the agency is providing. Because as wise as you may be, as much as you may know about the business aspect or the government aspect of running government agency, if you don't take advantages of the services themselves, you don't know what the user experience is. And Donna brings that unique perspective as someone who has very courageously fought through her disabilities to nonetheless be one of the most significant leaders in Lake County. She understands how important Lake Tran is to a senior or a disabled person because she uses Lake Tran for all of her transport. She gets it. And that's why, even though we sometimes disagree, I always respect her perspective because it comes directly from the user.
I agree 100%. She's been the force on that board for quite a while, and she does a great job. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Beveridge.
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Resolution reappointing Michael Pishmo to the Lake Tran Board of Trustees for a 3-year term expiring May 15, 2028.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Now, Mr. President, you know I have to say a few words here. Mike Pijmo stepped up to fill out the term, to finish the term of his wife, Laura, who was diagnosed at a very young age with a very aggressive cancer. And I remember when Laura first came to me and said, John, I really want the opportunity to serve on Lake Tran. I think it's one of the most important institutions in our community. And I don't know how much time I have left, so I want to give it in a way that will make the biggest possible difference for my kids, for my community, for my neighbors, because this could be, I remember her words, this could be my last chance to serve. And I think if you ask anyone at Lake Tran, Laura was one of the most impactful trustees they ever had, even though she served far too briefly. Now, the incredible grief that her family has gone through, you could never ask someone to step up and continue her work, but Mike volunteered. And to have the opportunity to reappoint him to continue Laura's legacy and work on behalf of the community means a lot to me. I remember when I first voted to appoint her, it was a little controversial. Another commissioner didn't agree. And at the time, we only had 2 commissioners because Commissioner Ron Young had retired early. And I'll admit, I did not second the motion to adjourn the meeting. I did a full-on filibuster for Laura Pijmo, and I'm so grateful that ultimately the other commissioners joined me in appointing her, and that Mike has continued her very dear work on behalf of her family and community. There is no better man than Mike Pijmo, and there was no greater trustee than Laura, so it means a lot to me to be able to reappoint Mike today.
Very good. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Beveridge.
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
In the Finance Department, resolution approving payment of bills as listed on the Commissioner's Approval Journal in the amount of $2,078,811.77.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Beveridge.
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Resolution approving payment of bills to CT Consultants Incorporated as listed on the Commissioner's Approval Journal in the amount of $22,510.47.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Beveridge.
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Abstain.
Resolution approving purchase orders as listed on the Commissioner's Purchase Order Approval Journal in the amount of $1,439,655.53.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Beveridge.
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations through various non-general fund accounts.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Beveridge.
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Resolution transferring cash within non-general fund accounts.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Beveridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes. This brings us to our departmental reports. Utilities.
I have no report today, Commissioner. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes.
if I may, I've asked if Engineer Roethlisberger could stay with us for our work session later because we've heard a lot of questions from residents in Madison as Lake County Department of Utilities has taken over their water per the agreement with Madison Village. And we know the basics because it's been a project that's gone on for not years but decades. But I think it's important to answer questions, respond to community concerns as utilities takes over this very important role in their community. Obviously, there's going to be some transition there, and we've heard some concerns about how bills are calculated and minimum use, and I want to make sure we're aggressively representing those concerns, making sure that this transition goes as smoothly as possible. So I just want to express gratitude to our engineer for being willing to stay with us and answer questions from us and the public.
Very good. Job and Family Services.
No report today. Thank you.
Thank you. County Administrator.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Just a brief jail update. The building is finally coming out of the ground. You will see on the corner closest to where the Burger King, I guess, used to sit for a geographic reference. We have foundation walls were formed up late last week, early this week, and the concrete pour on Tuesday and Wednesday. I think they're going to start tearing off some of the forms today, so you'll see what will be the front right corner of what we're calling level 0, the basement. It looks like the footer work, they're working their way around. They're on the, according to our cam here, they're on the Jackson Street side now. Everything is going, knock on wood, according to plan. Everybody is performing and meeting and exceeding, quite frankly, my expectations from the Gilbane side. To that point, I received a call yesterday from Chief Building Official Dave Strichko. Dave's been in the game a long, long time. He was, at his prior stint with the county, he wasn't the CBO, but he was assigned to the Lake Hospital site in Concord, which was a significant project, and multiple other commercial manufacturing endeavors throughout the county. He just wanted us to know, and I want that the responsiveness, the professionalism of Gilbane and the guys and gals on site has been the best he's ever seen. Dave never does that, so when he calls me to give me that, I feel really good about who we've selected and what I've witnessed so far, more so on the meetings and planning and design and finance. He's there in the field, so I want to thank Dave for sharing that. Thank Dave and his team. The beauty of this being in our building department jurisdiction is turnaround time. Permits go in. Obviously, Dave is not jeopardizing our other customers, residential builders, etc., but things are not sitting. We're getting them in, professional review, and getting them out so we can continue the construction practice. So far, so good. I would like to schedule another trip for the commissioners to tour the site when the weather dries up a bit and we start to see more action there. Secondly, I had a great meeting. You guys have heard me pontificate about parking. I have a different view from most, but Gilbane has proposed, and I had a meeting yesterday with the sheriff and Judge De Leon, fast tracking the entire juvenile court parking lot project to essentially now, and addressing those challenges that the judge and his team, and most importantly the users of the court, have experienced. We have some details to work out, but it looks like in mid-May we will completely redo the juvenile court parking as opposed to waiting to the end of the project. So I want to thank the judge and his employees for their patience. There'll be a little bit more heartache during that time because we're going to close the entire lot. So I'm going to work with the judge and finding some alternative parking spots in the meantime. But there was no reason to wait another 2 years and work through those issues. So we just decided to move that completely forward in the construction schedule. We'll be fine-tuning that plan, making sure the operational components of the day-to-day activities, the after-hours activities of the detention center are met. So I'll be able to provide an additional report probably in early to mid-May on that component. But so far, so good on the jail project. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Yes, our next commissioner meeting is scheduled for next Thursday, April 24th at 10 a.m. And also there's a workshop at 10:30 or immediately following this meeting. Thank you.
And legal.
No reports, Commissioner.
Thank you. For old business, I want to bring up Representative Troy to add to our discussion from a couple of weeks ago.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Reason I'm here today is I've tried to go around all the communities in my district. I know Tuesday night, I don't know how I did it, but I was able to hit Willowick, Eastlake, Willoughby, and Mentor City Council meeting while they were still meeting. But there's a very important issue on the ballot coming up on Tuesday, May the 6th. A lot of people aren't aware that there's an election on May the 6th because normally we don't have primaries in an odd-numbered year, so it's actually a special election. But on that ballot will be State Issue 2. There is no State Issue 1. There probably won't be any for a while because everybody got confused over the last few years. We had a number of State Issue 1s, and people said, do I vote no on this one or yes on this one? So we actually passed a law last year modeling ourselves after California where we will number these consecutively going up. So the next State Issue you will see will be State Issue 3 whenever that comes and whatever it's about. But anyway, State Issue 2, what it does, it renews the authorization from the voters in the Constitution to continue the Ohio State Community Improvements Program under our Public Works Commission. Actually, there were a number of us who were co-sponsors way back in the late 80s that first initiated this program, and it's been renewed by the voters 4 times, and I was able to work with Republican State Representative Scott Oschlager from Canton area. We were the co-sponsors last fall to basically put this thing on the ballot. The reason we have to do it now, I would have liked to have done it last year, is that the authorization from the voters expires on July 1st, 2025. So that means that at that point there would be no authorization for the state to issue these bonds. This program currently is for 10 years at $2 billion or $200 million a year. This reauthorization, realizing there's been inflationary impacts on infrastructure costs, will be $2.5 billion over 10 years or $250 million a year. There is no tax increase involved with this on the state level or on the local level. This is being covered as general obligation bonds under the existing resources, existing receipts of the state government. So again, this is not, it says bond issue, but it is not normally what we consider a bond issue. This is not asking the taxpayers for any increase. Our state debt service limit under the Constitution is about 5%. We're currently at about 2.4%, so there is lots of room. And of course, bonds will continue to be retired, which reduces the outspending on that debt service and all that. The other great thing about this program is that not only is it not costing the taxpayers anything additional, is that the decisions on what projects are being funded are all made at the local level. It starts right here in Lake County in the county engineer's office with a local committee consisting of commissioners, representatives, mayors, the city manager, and townships and villages, and they score the projects. And I know that Randy Roethlisberger can tell you that the number of projects that the Utilities Department has received have been very helpful in addressing his infrastructure needs. The other thing, then after it goes through the local integrating committee, it goes to the district integrating committee, which is Lake, Geauga, Ashtabula, and Portage counties, and then those projects are scored. Every community in Lake County, I think except for North Perry Village, possibly they don't need the help, but has received funding under this particular program. And particularly Lake County, and I have copies here, and I'll give one to the clerk, and she can disseminate that to the, but for Lake County over the life of this program has received $21,879,000 in grants through this program, and also $4.5 million in zero-interest loans, which are part of the program. That's the SCIP program, State Capital Improvements Program. Then there's another division of this, the LTIP program, Local Transportation Improvement Program, and Lake County, through the engineer's office, on a number of projects, has received $9.3 million over the life of this program. So Lake County has received over $35 million as a result of this program. What we want to do, I know the County Commissioners Association has come out strongly in favor of this, your association, the Township Association, Municipal League, and them. We want to encourage people to make sure they vote on May the 6th, but make sure they vote for State Issue 2, because it has been invaluable to Lake County. It's been invaluable to the state of Ohio, probably puts about 35,000 people to work through this program with the various projects that it funds. And certainly I would encourage the commissioners and everyone here to tell their friends, tell their neighbors, make sure you vote on May the 6th, but make sure you vote for State Issue 2. This is probably one of the best ideas that the state of Ohio has ever come up with, and it's really been helpful, and especially to a lot of communities who would not be able to afford some of these infrastructure improvements on their own. So it's a great partnership between the state and local governments, and we'd certainly like to continue it. And it's vital that this pass in May, or the authorization will end on July 1st, and I'm certain we'd try and come back with it, but it would basically stop any activity in this particular program. But I know that Randy has participated in that in quite a few projects. Some of the more recent ones, I think, for Lake County, just in the last couple of rounds, has been the Grace Court Trunk Sewer Rehabilitation, Lakeshore Boulevard Waterline Replacement, Vine Street Waterline Replacement, all being done with a lot of help from the State Issue 2 program. And then the LTIP program, some that you may be familiar with just recently, the Blair Road Retaining Wall and Resurfacing, Phase 1, and the County Line Road Reconstruction, Phase 2. So again, it's a good partnership, as I've said before, between the state and local government, and certainly would encourage everyone to support this. And thank you for your time today. And thank you for reappointing Donna McNamee, because I was actually sitting in those seats, or, well, not in this building, but, and first appointed Donna McNamee, and she's just done a wonderful job, well over 20-something years now on that Board of Trustees on Lakeland.
Thank you, Representative Troy.
Okay.
Any questions for Representative?
Mr. President, my understanding, and we don't always see eye to eye, but my understanding is that you very rightly voted no on giving $600 million for the Brook Park Brown Stadium. And I look at this, where we're talking about borrowing $250 million a year, and as I do the math, we're going to spend more giving money to the Browns than we are on borrowing money for roads and infrastructure over the next 2 years. You know, $250 million a year times 2, we're going to spend $500 million on infrastructure, and we're going to spend $600 million on the Browns, but we're borrowing both. And you know, you wonder how long we can keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing before the state of Ohio, you know, issues one too many checks. I know we've had a lot of federal money come down over the last 4 years, but that's drying up, as it should. That spending caused an enormous amount of inflation. So I want to commend you for voting no on that, if my understanding is correct. I'm just worried that the state of Ohio is continuing to borrow money, and borrowing money to give money to a billionaire is not where I would want to put my hard-earned tax dollars.
Mr. President, Commissioner, yeah, I voted no on the budget. It's not the only reason I voted no on the budget. I agree with you on that, you know, the job of the state of Ohio is to address the needs of its people, and obviously this program, State Issue 2, addresses a lot of infrastructure needs, especially in the SCIP program, a lot of our environmental needs to protect our people, water lines, sewer lines, etc. There was an amendment offered on the floor to pull the funding, $600 million toward the proposed Brook Park Stadium. That amendment passed. That amendment failed by a 50 to 49 vote, by one vote. And I know that the Republican sponsor that said he found two of his members he thinks voted the wrong way. They moved to try and reconsider, but I think the Speaker saw what was happening and called for a vote on the bill, and the bill was passed. Now, it still has to go through the Senate. Obviously, your senator is I guess he's mine too, the Finance Committee chairman in the Senate, and certainly he will have a lot to say on whether or not this stays in the particular budget. But there are other problematic things in the budget, taking what has been a 40-year history of the libraries getting a percentage of state tax revenues and gutting that. They're now just going to be a line item, and as you know, line items are subject to be reduced. We have one of the best publicly funded library systems in the United States, and why we want to tamper with that, I don't know. There is something else very problematic. I know that we've talked about property tax reform. I did offer an amendment on the floor to increase the homestead exemption, which is now about $28,000 up to $50,000, and increase the eligibility for that to $45,000. That was tabled because I was told that, no, we're doing real property tax relief here because we're going to ask the budget commissions to roll back anything over a 30% carryover for all of our school districts in the state. And I have heard from Willoughby Eastlake schools, I've heard from Mentor schools, this could be devastating there. But the problem is this idea came up about 4 days before we voted on the budget. And I said, this thing never came up in the Property Tax Study Committee, which I wrote the language for and was served as a member. This thing has not been properly vetted. So we'll see what happens there. But, and the other thing I think that was of great concern is the Medicaid cliff that's in there. When I was commissioner, the County Commissioners Association, I know our board at the time, strongly supported Medicaid expansion. Medicaid expansion basically put up health care for about 9,000 more Lake Countyans in place, most of them working for employers that they weren't making a big wage, and their employers were not able to pay for the Medicaid coverage and all that. So, and the good thing about the Medicaid expansion program is the federal government pays 90% and the state government pays 10%. They have language in that budget that says if that percentage falls below 90%, Ohio is out of the program. And I said, that means if we go down to 89% and instead of 10 cents on the dollar, we're paying 11 cents on the dollar, we're out of this program. That's the way the language reads. And the estimates are that probably about 700,000 Ohioans would lose health care coverage under this. So again, that's one of the many things wrong with the budget. In my entire career, I never voted no on a budget as a city councilman in Willowick. I never voted no on a budget. My years in the legislature, I never voted for no on a budget for any of the 20 budgets that I oversaw as a member of this board. This is the first time that I've ever had to vote against a budget because it was that bad.
Mr. President, just to follow up, I want to say I totally support your proposal to increase the homestead exemption. I just don't think it goes far enough. I've said we should have a 100% property tax exemption for our seniors, but even if the state legislature can't find it in their hearts to go that far, bumping up the eligibility is certainly important. But what I find shocking is that all the eligibility proposals I've heard, the current is about 40,000. You said bumping it to 45. I mean, how can it be lower than the salary for a state representative or a state senator? I mean, ultimately, if seniors are supposed to live on $40,000 a year, I think they could come right back and say, why are we paying more to a state representative who's in Columbus half the year, when we have to live on $40,000 full-time or we're not in need, quote unquote. So I think we should be looking at tying the exemption requirements to compensation, and I wouldn't tie it to the lowest paid state rep. I'd tie it to the speaker, because that way, if the speaker wants to cut the homestead exemption, he has to cut his own, or she has to cut her own pay. I don't think it's fair that seniors are paid less or are allowed to earn less than the people who are in Columbus voting for them. I also think that the way we structure these home revaluations has got to change, and I know that you've worked on that issue too. I would personally recommend, as someone who's studied this issue, not just as a commissioner or a councilman, but as a tax professor, I think that we should tie it to the sales price, because that is what a willing buyer paid a willing seller. It's an objective value, and better yet, we don't need to hire an army of government employees to do nothing but revalue people's houses every day. We can save money by cutting the bureaucracy, give it back to the people, and we no longer have to argue how much is your home worth, how much is my home worth. It's decided when you buy your home. And I understand that that requires some sacrifices in other areas, but in a world where we have $600 million for the Browns, in a world where we can seriously propose, and thank goodness it got cut out of HB 15, but in a world where we seriously propose exempting power plants from paying personal property taxes, if we have money for power plants and football teams, where's the money for the seniors?
Well, as I've said before, property tax is an extremely complex subject, and that's why I institute language, put it in the budget to create a property tax study commission and to study the issue, try to understand it, and then see where we can reform that. And I know representatives from Lake County, I know Mr. Massey attended the meetings, or some of the meetings. I was disappointed that at the end of the work of listening to people from around the state and different entities, County Auditors Association, national tax experts, etc., Howard Fleeter, other people, we did not sit down, roll up our sleeves, and say, where can we now reach consensus on moving forward on property tax reform? Unfortunately, your side of the aisle controls the agenda. Your side of the aisle has been in charge for quite some time, and they just decided to put out a laundry list at the end of a few things that possibly we could do. And primarily, I see most of the activity taking place on what is more beneficial to the business taxpayers rather than the residential taxpayers. So, in terms of property tax relief, Ohio has always replace the revenue that they exempt through property tax relief with the local government. So there is a price tag involved. The amendment I had put on the floor last week probably had a price tag of about $250 million, but I was paying for it by saying, let's get rid of this dubious sales tax holiday that we have for a few days every August, which is of dubious value to the citizens of the state, and use the money to get tax relief to those that really need it. So I think there's a it's frustrating, but we also have to follow the Constitution. You cannot change you have to have a uniform set of rates, but you can, and that's what the homestead exemption does, you can reduce the value upon which those rates apply. You can reduce that base, and that's the way we should go, starting, again, as I said, $250 million price tag just a year, just to do what I had proposed last week. Certainly any farther we go is going to increase the expenditure out of the state of Ohio's budget. And what has frustrated me is that we've gave away $6.2 billion in income tax cuts over the last three budgets. And if you talk to the average citizen in Ohio, they say, did I get an income tax cut from the state of Ohio? I'm not aware of that. There's been revenue gone out the door that really should have been spent on tax relief for those that really need it, and especially with private. So, we'll continue to do that. I know when I was commissioner, you guys we had 2.1 inside mills. Took that down to 1.0 mils, so that's up 1.1 mil break. You guys are still collecting a 1. If you feel very sorry for our poor taxpayers. You can always, jettison that too, because as you know, with that 1%, that 1 mil, that's inside millage, and if property values went up 40% in Lake County, so did that inside millage. So, with you on property tax reform, but it's been frustrating, and again, they just don't let me be in charge down there. Thank you. Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Issue 2.
Any other old business? Any new business?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I try my best to be non-political in my comments here as a commissioner so far. But one of the reasons I ran to be a county commissioner was as a small business owner in the county, we try to do our best to help people in our community. And when I started seeing my local elected officials standing in the way of that help and swimming in the opposite direction of that help, I raised my hand. And I sit here today as a local elected official, and I see my federal government officials making comments and swimming in the opposite direction that I feel undermines the work that we're doing here as Lake County Commissioners. And so just this week, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert Kennedy Jr., made some comments, and I'm going to read a quote here, as he's speaking about individuals with autism. Autism destroys families, and more importantly, it destroys our greatest resource, which is our children. These are children who should not be suffering like this. These are kids who will never pay taxes, they'll never hold a job, they'll never play baseball, they'll never write a poem, they'll never go out on a date, and many of them will never use a toilet unassisted. Now, it was just last week that we, I believe, passed a resolution for Autism Awareness Month to acknowledge the fact that individuals with autism offer a great value to society and can be just as contributing members of society as any other citizen in this country. And we received gifts from individuals that work at a company, that pay taxes. The comment about never being able to play baseball, we live in Lake County. I happen to be one of the founding board members and fundraising chairs for an organization called the Miracle League of Lake County, which is an adaptive baseball field here in East Lake that says every child should have the opportunity to play ball. The comment about never writing a poem, as if somebody with autism doesn't have something to add in the world of art. I believe we were presented with a piece of art from somebody with autism. And so my fear is that I don't have the platform that the Secretary of Health and Human Services has, and that those ignorant remarks undermine and they're counter to the work that we're trying to do here at the county level. And so the two things that I would ask is that if you are a federal official that is woefully unqualified for the position you're in, then please educate yourself on those topics, or at least be quiet. If that can't happen, I know that our federal government now has a Department of Governmental Efficiencies that looks into different institutions. And I find it extremely inefficient when the Secretary of Health and Human Services is swimming in one direction, in the direct opposite direction of what the majority of the healthcare professionals in this country feel, including the Surgeon General. So why don't we shut down those individuals who aren't professionally qualified for those positions to be more efficient? And then I'm struck with the fact that the individual in charge of the Department of Government Efficiency has autism. And so, for the record, Kathy, I apologize, Commissioner Beveridge, individually, but as a elected official representing Lake County, condemns the ignorant remarks made by the Health and Human Services Secretary this week about individuals with autism. Thank you.
Anything further for new business? Anything else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
There's no executive session today, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Beveridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Plechnik,